Now our next repair is on our little shift lever here. So if you recall last episode, we verified the thread in this part was okay. It was an M. We wound an M8 tap down the threaded hole and the thread was fine, so the thread damage is on the thread on the lever. So what we're going to do is cut that thread off. We'll drill and tap M8 up inside, and we'll use a threaded section of a bolt as a stud to repair our thread. Now, if we want to grip that, we need to grip it by the shank. Now if you can't get that knob off, this one's quite firm and I don't want to risk damaging it. So we've got a couple of options to hold the thing. It can be held in a simple collet block. Poke it up the rear of the collet block, and that can be set up in the 4-jaw chuck and your machining operations carried out. The other way, which we'll go with this way, I had a piece of scrap and I just bored out the centre and with a hacksaw just cut 3 slots in. So this will act as a type of a collet. We'll go over the shank, we'll grip that in the chuck and carry out our little machining operations. So let's get this set up. I think that should work fine. Next part is the base of the tailstock. What we are going to do to this is cut a zigzag oil groove in this side, and on the V side going to cut some semicircle scallops, 2 on each side on the V, and then we have to, from the centre, we have to drill down and then drill in from the side to accept an oil cup, and this will happen on both sides. So I'll get it indicated in. I'll just use this bar sitting in the V groove to indicate off, and we'll cut out the 4 grooves the crossways first, then we'll angle the part around so it's parallel with the bed, and then we'll just cut these remaining 3 slots. Now we'll do it with a small ball nose end mill, as that will give the well, it's the appropriate tool for the job. Now, my opinion, surfaces like these should be flaked for oil retention, and I would actually do that, but flaking and scraping is a skill that I'm going to have to brush up on pretty darn quick, because a lot of it's going to be required on our refurbishment of our horizontal boring machine. So it's something I've got to pull my finger out and learn very quick. So the reason why we're doing these oil grooves, on the end of this casting it has way wipers. Now there's not really any way to get oil onto these ways. If you put the oil onto the ways of the bed, sure, the felt will suck a bit of it up, but is that going to be enough? I mean, when you've got 2 flat machine surfaces that aren't flaked for oil retention or oil grooves in them, you're setting yourself up for some galling to go on, in my opinion. So hence, that's why we are going this route with the grooves. So let me get this indicated in. We'll get a small ball nose cutter set up, and we'll machine our zigzag ways. When we go to do the ways, the half circles on the other side, that's a different animal, so we'll deal with that one after we've done this one. So this clamp lightly nipped, and this clamp even less lightly nipped. So I'm just going to run the indicator down, and I will tap the part across as we're travelling. Right, nip it down. That's all, that's where we need to be. So I'll get a cutter set up and we'll do these crossways grooves. So I have some faint layout lines that we're just going to be working off our numbers on our dial for this. The layout lines are just anti-bozo means. That's not too bad. I might just take that that's 0.4 of a mil deep. I think we'll let it go at that. We'll do them all at 0.4 mil deep. Okay, that's where we need to be. And we're looking good. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll swivel the part around and we'll cut a diagonal in between all these and link them all up together. For our angled linking cuts, we've eyeballed down, directly down over this parallel, and we've lined up the parallel with the little centre mark that the ball nose cutter has left. So that's put us in a pretty good registration point, and then we just tap the casting around until we get a stable reading on our indicator. So for all intents and purposes, that's going to put us in a good spot for linking our slots. Right, let's crack on. So to get our start location on each slot, we have to eyeball the position, as we've lost all our reference when we move the part. So eyeballing it will be close enough for this procedure, as it's just an oil groove. Okay, looks like we've nailed our alignment. So that should make for a good oil distribution groove. So all that's left now is we have to drill a hole vertically down here and link up with a hole in the side of the casting, which will be drilled and tapped for a cup type oiler. So this is our setup for doing the half circle grooves in the V-ways. So boring head in, we have the head of the Bridgeport tilted a fair way over, and so our expected result, what we're trying to produce, is a semicircle through here that's deep at the groove end here and fades out just before the end of the V groove. That's what we're aiming for. So we have a 48.5 degree tilt on the head. So make sure our tool clears. We'll start her up and see what happens. Like the tilt I've got, it's a trial and error thing. It's a 90 degree V-way. So as I said before, we should be cutting deep in the centre and fading out before we hit the end of the V groove. We'll just slow it down a bit. We're looking alright. I'm just going to slow that down, I think. So we're on our slowest speed for high range, so I'll slip it into back gear. Okay, that's really good. Swing it down, we'll give you a close-up there. So down the base of the groove, it can pick the oil up from where it comes in along here. Distribute the oil down the width of the groove, and we don't want the groove to continue past the V-way, otherwise all the oil will run out. We want this to contain oil. So our angle worked out great. So 1 down, 3 to go. Right, this might be a better camera angle. You'll actually see what I'm doing, or what the tool's doing, instead of the back of my fat head. Okay, that's all it needs. Pair of matching smiley faces. Now to do the other side, rather than tilt the head, I will just rotate the workpiece and re-indicate our groove back in, and it should all be apples. Okay, our grooves came out well. So all that's left now is to drill a hole in the middle, vertically down, and then pick up from a cross hole here where it will screw in our flip cap oiler. So our oil grooves came out rather well, I thought. We didn't run into any problems. So off camera I'll go ahead and drill the vertical holes and the cross holes that go on the sides and tap them for the oilers. The oilers I have ordered, they'll be here probably in a week, hopefully, or two, you never know. So what we're going to do next is our casting, which is down on the floor there. So the upper half of the tailstock casting, we are going to machine that broken area out that we saw last week, and I'll just make up a floating spacer to take up the required space. So I'm probably going to order a Morse Taper 4 finishing reamer. I'm thinking about it. So they can be quite expensive. A really good brand name one over here, a Sutton one, you pay on the other side of $1,000. So I won't be getting that one. There's another reasonable make we get over here. It's a Preca. They are sold by LPR tool makers, I think, over in the eastern states of Australia. So I think I might get one of them, maybe for $100. So until the reamer I get organised, the oil cups I get organised. If they're not here next week, what I'll do is I'll just put the tailstock aside until I've got all the parts in to complete it, and we might pull the lead screws and feed shaft out in preparation for removing the compound, cross slide, apron, carriage, etc. So anyway, thanks for sticking by. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next video, or you'll see me in the next video.